Why don't we go ahead? I want to. If we're gonna get into the Chappelle stuff, I wanted to play one little snippet from it. This part that really stood out to me when I kind of was formulating where he was coming from and all this kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, I want to go ahead and read the articles that have come out today, and then look at least at one of those.
What?
Yeah.
The articles from fucking Greenwald Substack and
No.
fucking Matty Iglesias.
No, the other ones were where he was talking about this is cancel culture and shit. There was I forgot. I mean, I read a bunch of those different Substacks today, and I was like, all right, people don't even know where they come down on this. They just know where they think they're supposed to come down on this.
Yeah.
But all right, let me
as
look
usual.
This up.
I think I have a nuanced takes.
Yeah, and I think I need like a little bit of help with my nuanced take here because I mean I just feel really fucking mixed up about a bunch of this shit. But all right, let me play this one.
What remix is this?
Comedians never respond.
Booty. What remix is this?
Talking to me while I'm on stage, but the way a person would talk to a television when they were alone, she's talking to me like that. That didn't bother me because I knew her, but the crowd didn't like that shit at all because she sucked. And a guy in the back of the room stood up, and Daphne's hair was dyed blonde at the time, and the guy screamed out, and his energy felt wild as fuck. He said, "Hey, Daphne!" And everybody kind of clapped, like got tense. We didn't know if it was a heckler or active shooter, and he said, "Does the carpet match the drapes?"
That's not what that means.
The whole crowd kind of groaned because it was so like mean. Everybody groaned except for Daphne. She kind of laughed, which was weird, and she didn't even look all the way back. She said, "Sir, I don't have carpets. I have hardwood floors." Just like that.
That's not what it means.
Just like that.
You know? Carpet match the drapes
Boy, when
is
she
like what
said
color
that
are your
shit, it
pubes.
blew the
Yeah.
roof off.
Nothing about your fucking formula.
Cut through all the tension with that one joke. She made up for 45 minutes of a stinker of a show. And after that, she could do no wrong. And I kept on rocking. She kept on talking to me. And then the show became something cooler than a show. It became like a conversation between a black man and a white trans woman, and we started getting to the bomber shit. All them questions that you think about that you'd be afraid to ask, I was just asking them, and she was answering them, and her answers were funny as shit. The crowd was falling out of their chairs. And at the end of the show, I go, "Oh, Daphne," I said, "Well, that was fun." I go, "I love you to death, but I have no fucking idea what you're talking about." The whole crowd laughed, except for Daphne. Now she looks at me like I'm not her friend anymore. Like I'm something bigger than me, like I'm the whole world and a guy. And she said, "I don't need you to understand me." I said, "What?" She said, "I just need you to believe," just like this, she goes, "that I'm having a human experience." And when she said it, the whole crowd kind of gasped. And I gave it a Fight Club look. I said, "I believe you, bitch." Because she didn't say anything about pronouns. She didn't say anything
I don't know what to
about
make
me
of
being
this.
in trouble. She said, "Just believe I'm a person and I'm going through it." I believe you because it takes one to know one.
Yeah. Yeah, that part.
Anyway, you're not gonna.
Yeah, I didn't want to throw, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know what to. I don't know.
yeah, well, I mean, see, that's the part that stuck with me. Not I heard the turf stuff, and when he did the turf stuff, I cringed. When he was doing all the stuff about J.K. Rowling, I cringed. And then when all of that other kind of stuff, when all the things that he was saying, and then when he turned around and started talking about his friend, and then he talked about how he was able to actually connect with her because this is the thing about people that have experienced racism and bigotry. There's no way to understand what it feels like to actually have to go through it. Like, if you're a trans person, no one's going to be able to replicate that experience of being hated on for being trans. If you're a black man, there's no way to replicate what it is to feel as a black man and seeing somebody do blackface. There's no way to go ahead and feel those type of experiences. The only thing, the best thing that you can come to it is understanding that we're human and we have situations that we've gone through some real shit. You know, that's something that is more relatable. That's something that is more universal. You know, I'm not gonna be able. I'm telling you, like, when I went up to New York, my family, people that I refer to as my New York family, they took me into their home, and I spent most of my time living with this black family that welcomed me into their midst, that welcomed me into their culture and everything else. And I never spent that much time around black people before then, and I've never since then. But in spending time with them, you know, my worldview changed. You know, I spoke about things as if I came from a woke place, thinking that I had a handle on racial issues. You know, but I really don't. Even now, you know, there's no way to really understand things. Like, I go ahead and I listen to Tim Black talk about the racial wealth gap. I listen to Reset Race talk about the racial wealth gap, reparations, and all those kinds of things. But it's not this. But even then, understanding what issues are important to them, it's not the same thing as being able to go ahead and live through those experiences. You can't. You just can't. You know. And and seeing that Chappelle was at least willing to go ahead, and it connected all these dots in my head listening to him talk, where he's talking about, like, women see things from this perspective and they're looking at it like this, black people look at it like this. You know, it's like, all right, even if we can't see through and we can't really get that grasp from each of these communities, we can at least understand what it means to go through something. You know,
I mean,
it's all about. I mean, to me, it was all about empathy. You know.
yeah, no, like I don't think he's like coming at it from like a. I mean, at least I don't think so. Like, I don't think he's coming at it from like a bad place, you know, like a negative place. Like, I don't think he's, you know,
yeah. And
you know, but at the same time, like, he's certainly kind of, you know, like taking sides in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which, you know, I guess, you know, we gotta have, you know, solidarity with, you know, poor J.K. Rowling, but like,
I mean, yeah, that was.
It's like, you can't say that, like, I mean, I don't know. He's got, like, the whole thing with me was like, it's what would you do if you were coming at it from a negative place, right? Like, what, you know, like, what would Glenn Greenwald do if, you know, he was in a situation like that, right? He would get, you know, like a token trans friend or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And sort of hide behind them and say, look, you know, my trans friend said it's okay. Like, she said it's not.
Yeah,
and not being mean.
And like, and I hear that.
Coincidentally, he had a lot of influence. Like, he, you know, he was the fucking goat, and she's like starting out. Right. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but like I'm saying,
but
if he was coming out of it from the cynical place, that's the same thing he would do.
But see, I understand if that, you know, when I looked at that and he starts talking about his friend Daphne, I immediately thought, all right, this is what people are going to say that he's doing. They're going to say that he's hiding behind his trans friend. They're going to say, this is exactly what I thought. They said he's going to go back. They're going to go back and they're going to say, oh, he's doing what racist white people do when they say racist shit against black people and saying, I have a black friend. That's exactly what they're going to go out there and say. And then I just, you know, and then when I go up on Twitter and see that, and I go and I talk to people that are on my Facebook that I'm out with and are cool and everything, and they say that, it's like, no, no, The way it feels for black people when that happens is not the same thing. It's not a comparable experience. You don't know what that's like. You do not know what that's like. And it's not easily translatable. You can try and look at it through a lens. You can say that as a trans person, it feels like this is what you're doing, and I can empathize with that, but Chappelle, no, that's not what the point of him bringing up that story was.
I mean, he's taken the side of the, the canceled or whatever, right? Like the anti-cancel culture, right? Like,
yes.
And I am, I agree. Nevertheless, whatever his motivations are, I agree with him on that, right?
Yeah.
I think,
hey, good morning, Ash.
Making a very, very long point explaining his long one journey to calling Daphne your daughter's father, and she was a great person. Your daughter's father. Yeah, I do that. Like, the people who are attacking him, the people who are like writing articles and looking Daily Beast or whatever,
right,
are deplorable. They're like, I don't think any of those people actually care about anyone's feelings or their emotional response to anything. I think they're attacking him because that's their thing. They're like just boosting that engagement. They're doing fucking whatever you would call that, like sort of a reactionary position, right? The last line, doesn't he say your father was a great man?
He said he said that your father was one hell of a woman or something like that. No, but the last line he said was that I'm not going to be doing these jokes anymore until we come to a point where we're all laughing together. Yeah. And
I think it's like the other thing is it's everybody's experience is different, right? Like you can't say like, okay, you're the spokesperson for all trans people, right?
No.
Like it's like,
and there we go. I knew your father and she was a great woman.
Ongoing conversation.
There you go.
No, like I said, I think he's he was that was a touching story, right? Like that was I agree. Like I think he did have that sort of emotional experience he talked about, and I think it was probably devastating.
Of course.
And like I said, I blame the the mob online much more than him, like
and it's like, again, it's like what I said, people are speaking from a place that one is informed by their perspective. They line up in a certain place, they're looking at it through a certain lens, and they think that this is the reaction that you're supposed to have, and it's a lot easier to go ahead and look at that set and say this person is operating out of a place of hate, point blank. Do not give this shit a good faith reading. There's no redeemable qualities of this. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to think maybe this person is trying to make a point that I'm not immediately seeing.
I mean, you know me. I just don't like. I don't like mean things.
Yeah.
I feel like. I mean, some of that could be. I'm sure some people will be upset by it.
Right.
But like, I'm not the.
No,
I don't.
No, see, in response to this, I mean, there was a.
I don't think it's going to increase the level of hatred or vitriol that people receive. I don't think it's going to make the trans experience harder. More difficult, right? I don't think that's a good argument, right? And in which case, I think. He's just a fucking guy telling jokes.
Exactly. You see, that's exactly what I came down with too, Quinn. It's like he tied in gender realism to respecting new gender identities. And I wouldn't expect an activist to take it as charitably as me, but I would expect a tons of gender realists to take a lot out of it. Yeah. That's what I kept thinking. You know, because look, if you are a trans activist, that's what I kept repeating this over and over when people kept coming at me like this. I kept saying nobody's under any obligation to give Chappelle a good faith reading here. You know, people in the trans community are not obligated to do that. But if you do find yourself so inclined to give this person a good faith reading, there's a lot more below the surface. And that's why I felt like, you know, I never felt in any way after looking at that whole thing that he was coming out of this from a bigoted place. Like, I've experienced people being bigoted to me. I know how it feels when somebody comes at you and talks to you in a certain way and looks at you in a certain way, you know, or talks about you in a certain way. We see it. We look at these motherfuckers talk like that all the time. When I see Steve King talking about people that look like me and their calves the size of cantaloupes, and when I hear Donald Trump going ahead and talking about Mexicans are rapists and bullshit like that, I feel that there's a very visceral feeling that connects me to that kind of stuff. With Dave Chappelle, no, I mean, I can see that, you know, clearly enough, man. Like it's hard. I don't know if I'm really being all that eloquent in my communication right now.
But what you're saying, but
yeah,
no, I just think he's like like I said, I think the Daily Beast writers and shit like that are the problem. I don't think Chappelle's the problem.
No, I mean that's what they're doing. I mean, they're doing out there because they like
everything. It's just the same Facebook issue. You know, it's the fucking engagement. It's the vitriol. It's the culture war. It's the same shit. It's the same problem.
Exactly.
Just, you know, in this venue, right?
You know,
it's they're being paid to sort of hype it up, any kind of disagreement and any kind of difference in interpretation. And like, I think, you know, he's a comedian, he like fucking makes fun of people, you know,
right?
Like,
you know, like,
really
I mean, the other part, the line that there's a line in there. Like, we talk about Israel, and we talk about the how weaponized anti-Semitism is, especially in American culture. There's a line in there about space Jews that Chappelle threw in there.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, did you see
that long ass thread about it?
Yeah, I mean, you see, like, I didn't see the long ass thread, but I mean, look, the rhetoric coming after Chappelle. Where's all that shit? You know, we know how easily you can stir the media up to go ahead and attack somebody for anti-Semitism. Yeah. I don't see them doing that to Chappelle, and I don't. And then for
no, they were.
Yeah,
they definitely were.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, not
those people are fucking psychos, man.
Yeah. I mean, if they are, what I'm saying is, it's not to the degree that people are willing to go ahead and put this dude in a transphobic box and then just chuck him out into the fucking ocean. But yeah.
I mean, like he was saying about this, the punching down, all that stuff.
Yeah, the punching down part is like I think really important, because that's what they keep accusing him of now. When it's like, no, you know, punching down implies,
but again, it's like
looking down on somebody. Yeah.
I mean, his behavior in a lot of ways, unless you're, you know, reading him closely, it is sort of identical to what you would do if you were coming at it in bad faith, right? It's like,
yeah. I mean, like the that's why I mean,
thing, like,
a lot of it.
I'm punching down. I'm not punching. You know, like,
right. A lot of it is understanding where the dude is coming from and being willing to give him a better faith reading than you otherwise should. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, he's been with us our whole lives, you know, for fucking our adult lives, right? Like, I think, you know, few people have had as much of an influence on a generation as that dude, you know? And like, I think
that's what we need. Luxuries.
We can't give him a good faith reading. You know, I think we owe it to him, right?
Yeah.
I think,
and this is the thing. The other
thing too, it's like, I think I said, I don't know how much pain he's really causing anyone, you know, like I think it's like people make jokes at your expense and people get upset about it.
Right.
It's not. It's generally not a, you know, whatever, some sort of like, you know, people don't say that you're, you know, like a hater, like you're, you know, whatever, that you're, you know, trying to cause pain and suffering to people, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And like, I think, you know, it was a similar. You know, I've seen a lot of his explanations when he's done interviews about why he walked away from Chappelle show, and what it came to is that he was emboldening the wrong people with that type of comedy that he was doing on Chappelle. That's what, you know. That's one of the things that he said. And like, people take the sound. People take the sound bite. Well, people take the sound bite out, but what the quote from him was something like, "White people were laughing a little bit too hard. Like, they were laughing at me. They were not laughing with me." That's what. Yeah, that was one of the things that he kind of said, and that's why, you know, it drew me back to that explanation when he, at the end, when he said he's gonna drop the LGBT jokes. It drew me back to that because he doesn't want. It didn't seem like he wants to contribute into an environment where people that are ill-intended will find themselves emboldened by the stuff that he's doing. You know,
and that's the thing too, is like, I'm not saying I found you know, those jokes were not the funniest parts of the set, you know, of the special, right?
No.
And I'm glad he's moving on from that, because it does seem like he does kind of, you know, he does kind of seem like a dude with a score to settle, like a bone to pick, right? And he kind of even said as much, right? That I mean, that's it's like, not even that he has a score to settle, but like he wants to make himself clear, right?
Yeah,
he doesn't like that he's coming at it from a good place and people are accusing him of being a dick.
Well, let's see them accuse the anti-Semitism part of him, because I didn't see this. Too many people are not understanding the anti-Semitism behind Dave Chappelle's space Jews joke. So let's go through it all, shall we? Long thread, because it includes a transcript of both the okay. So I said, I also saw a lot of videos. I'm gonna butcher this, but I'm sorry. I also saw a lot of videos about UFOs. I mean, what the fuck is going on with that shit? These UFOs coming to Earth, and it made me think of an idea for a movie. Sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But hear me out. In my movie idea, we find out these aliens are originally from Earth. And they're from an ancient civilization that achieved interstellar travel and left Earth thousands of years ago. Some other planet they go to, and and things go terrible for them on the other planet. So they come back to Earth, and they decide they want to claim the Earth for their very own. It's a pretty good plot line, huh? I call it Space Jews. Space Jews. Man in the audience, free Palestine. It's going to get worse than that. Hang in there. It's going to get way worse than that. There's a black man who was in South Carolina during slavery who somehow got granted his freedom by a so-called master. And when his master granted him his freedom,
that was in Texarkana. Wasn't that the part when he was talking about Juneteenth?
I think so. It might have been. And when his master granted him his freedom, he also gave him a plot of land. Now, it turns out this brother was brilliant. He had a good eye, good knack for farming. And he farmed this plot of land very successfully, made a lot of money. And this is where the story gets crazy. When he got all that money, this dude brought some slaves. Not gonna say N-word, bro, but yeah, this N-word brought some slaves. Have you ever heard this before? This is a true story. Not only was he a slave owner, he became a slave breeder. He employed tactics that were so cool. Even white slave owner was like, "Yo, my man." He was a wild dude, but he did it just because that's what successful people did at the time, and he just wanted to be down. What a fucking tragedy how a person that went through slavery perpetuates the same evil on a person that looks like him. It's mind-blowing and shocking. And shockingly, they're making a movie about him. Ironically, it's called Space Jews. Wow, man. I mean,
You can tell the.
so he's talking about Palestine.
It took the crowd a second to get that one.
Yeah, he's talking about Palestine. Isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It, like, they had to think about it for a second.
Yeah. If I wasn't Jewish or at least somewhat acutely aware of how anti-Semitism functions, the space Jews joke would be gold. I, like many others, would see Jews as a strange, off-putting other who didn't quite belong and didn't want to and want to control the world. The reason this joke works so well is because so many people believe that Jews up and left the land of Israel, their homeland, and then came back thousands of years later after facing adversity elsewhere, decided to go back to a populated land where they no longer had any claim for themselves. This joke sees Jews as aliens, foreigners, people who don't belong, different in the most negative sense. It also sees Jews as alien to their own land, people with no claim to their homeland, no right to return. Further, it evokes an imagery of Nazi propaganda on a Jewish person with his tentacles around the globe, claiming the world for themselves. It upholds the anti-Israel false narrative that Jews have no connection to Israel, forced out of their land, and have been yearning to try and return since their expulsion through the founding of modern Israel. The Space Jews joke takes the IP conflict, the Israel-Palestine conflict, and enlarges its scope, applying a prejudiced perception of the mentality of Jews towards one area of the world to the entire world, and says the movie plot is just as ludicrous as what the Jews have done in Israel. Indeed, it would be ludicrous if a group of aliens tried to claim the world for themselves after leaving thousands of years prior. But the reason the joke works so well is because most people see it as completely analogous to the founding of the Jewish state, the state of Israel. The second Space Jews joke, as a callback to the first, takes it a step further, and it's almost explicitly commits Holocaust inversion. Chappelle, during a story about enslaved black people who is or a enslaved black person who is freed and then goes back and enslaves other black people, asks how the person who was a victim to the atrocity can perpetuate the same evil on another person. He says the movie being made out of this black slave owner is also called Space Jews. I wish I didn't have to explain this because it seems so obvious, but here we are. The joke works because so many people believe that Jews in the Israel-Palestine conflict are committing the same atrocities that have been committed against them by Nazis during the Holocaust against Palestinians today. Painting Jews as Nazis is a false comparison. It takes our own pain and trauma and uses it against us in a widely exaggerates Israel's wrongdoing. And how much longer is this thing going for? Okay, yeah, there we go. It's a Nazis is a false okay. It is not only offensive, but it's a distortion of reality and revision of history. More importantly, it's anti-Semitic. It demonizes Jews, casting them as the worst villains in history, and uses this specifically to delegitimize their right to liberation and safety in their indigenous homeland. The one of us were more forcibly expelled from. Some of us we have never left, and many of us moved back to. Throughout the ages, before either Zionism or political movement began before the Holocaust, these jokes work because they're seen as punching up against a powerful group of people, one that abuses others and seeks world domination. They're comedic gold to a population. It is so anti-Semitic, they wouldn't even know anti-Semitism if it hit them in the face, which it does during Chappelle's special. The humor works because it's true, only it's not because it is true. Chappelle and much of the audience believes the jokes land perfectly, which, yeah. As that explanation came through from this person, it's just either you do not know what's going on there in Palestine, you're not prepared to deal with what's going on in Palestine, or you're just being a Zionist shill.
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter. Like most of these people on Twitter.
Yeah,
it's like,
but no, it's with that whole little story that he told there. I mean, bro,
it's like if you weren't certain that he was fucking hit the nail right on the head, you wouldn't be freaking out like that.
Yeah,
it's like usually when people make a joke about your your race or your culture or whatever it is, people are like, oh, he fucking got us good on that one, right?
Yeah,
but the hyperbolic reaction is because they're in this extremely like well-funded and very powerful method or attempt, mass media attempts to fight people from knowing the truth, right? It's like you have the mainstream media all over the world basically fucking, whitewashing your crimes on a daily basis, and a whole army of people who are going to hop online and do posts like this whenever anybody even slightly hints at the reality of the situation. So it's like, I think the lady doth protest too much, you know?
Well,
I think,
yeah. And I mean, and again, it's kind of it's kind of a tragedy in the middle of all this kind of stuff, because Dave did make more than 1 point in his set, but having somebody go ahead and speak out about Palestine, that has a platform that Dave Chappelle did, should have been a lot more powerful. But I mean, it seems like that's kind of getting lost in this.
Like I said, it's these people, the Hasbro, right? They are, it's like the what's that in China? What are they called? The 50 Cent Brigade.
Yeah.
Right. The people who this is all they do is just go and argue with people online about, this thing you think China doing is bad is actually good. This is the same shit. And it's like like this whole thing where it's like, oh, we're not as bad as the Nazis. It's like,
but you're what I mean. Okay, so the Nazis didn't just end up over here, gassing you at first. What did they do
exactly
to the Jews? They did exactly what these Israelis are doing. They're going into these people's homes and dragging people out in the middle of the street. There was a dude that we saw on here on a clip that was on CNN talking about this shit from Palestine, and as soon as he made that video, when he came out and started talking about what his experiences were, the state went and grabbed him. The Israelis came and dragged his ass out of his house for speaking out. Like if that isn't fascist Nazi shit, then
the thing is, it's like, I think that the capitalists, like the West, right, like the first world countries, or the whole world, right, like the elites around the world, they learned a lesson from World War II, right? I think they don't let your hatred get out of control like that, right? You have to do you have to be more measured in your attempts to do genocides and ethnically cleanse people. Like they have more sophisticated ways of doing this shit now. They don't and I think that they probably were aware of that at the time too. Like, I think they probably wouldn't have been so aggressive with their final solution and all if they weren't in a war and losing, right? So I think that's not saying that they're not doing the exact same thing the Nazis are doing is a fucking terrible excuse.
Like, okay, we're no, we're not doing Nazi stuff. We've evolved past the Nazi stuff. We're doing something much more sophisticated. Okay, all right, that's what the thing you want to go ahead and say. But all right, man, we gotta cool in with the hot takes, man. We're gonna have a bunch of them tonight. But all right, let me go back to the Tim Black thing here that I wanted to throw in as well. Let's see. So here, one of the showrunner, for the show Dear White People.
This kind of shit is ridiculous. This is the exact wrong response. Like I was saying too, it's like with what's his face, the Oscars.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah, Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing I think is the problem, right? I think it's one thing for people to express their opinion, real people to be like, yo, that joke was over the line, right? It's another thing for the corporate apparatus to get their pound of flesh from you for edgy jokes, right? It's like I think needs to stop. Like, I think, yeah, you should receive criticism if you have a joke that didn't land right and that went over the line, right? Like, yeah, people should be able to dunk on you online, right? But like your livelihood, you know, like I'm not I'm not a fan of that,
Yeah.
right? I don't think your boss should be, you know, exacting a toll on you for things that you said, you know,
Yeah.
on stage.
There we go. But there we go. See, so let me read this thing. So, there's a Jacqueline Moore, the showrunner here. Yeah, says she'll be boycotting Netflix over the transphobic stuff. And then this whole thing about Variety, talking about dangerous rhetoric. So then Tim Black came back and had this compilation about the showrunner of the show Dear White People. Have you ever seen this shit? You ever seen the Dear White People show?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a couple times.
Is that the one on the college camp? I think I might have watched the first episode.
It was the one on the college
like,
campus thing.
Kids at school.
Yeah.
Like black kids at a white school.
Yeah. So let me go ahead.
A lot of times I'm watching like news, when I'm watching shows in general, they're written by white people.
I don't know what that means.
Even when the talent's black, the writers are white. Even when the writers are black and the talent's black, the owners are white.
Yeah, it was pretty cringe.
And even when the talent is black and the story is black, the subject matter is black. For some strange reason, the most vocal writer is white. And I mean very, very white. And even when the writers are black and the talent is black and the owners are black, those three entities are worried about what white people are going to say. So, you never really get to see black shit or hear black people talk free, as freed men. And I said, damn, man, TV been lying to me all this time. So the point is, they lie to us too. Not just to us, about us, they lie to us about white people. And white people, they lie to you about black people. And they lie to all of us through the use of Hollywood, through the use of stories, and just plain old fibbery. Okay? So that's all it is. So the point is this. The reason why I tell you, the Tim Black Pause show, Pause with Tim Black, is where we get to be really black. That's because I don't answer nobody. I don't answer the white people. I don't answer the white people. I don't got no white writers, and I have no white paymasters. More than that, I'm not trying to appease white folks because they don't own it. They don't fucking own it.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, that's fine if you think that way, right?
Yeah.
I just don't think, you know, you're like, I don't like your boss seeing that and being like, you know, having that effect on your livelihood in some way, you know?
Yeah.
Making pretty cringe jokes. Yeah, and like I said, not everybody can do what he did. And like that takes, you know, a special. He's got a special place of significance within our culture. I think that he's, you know, can do that, get away with it, kind of, you know. And I think, like I said, people who are like, I'm fucking boycotting Netflix or whatever. Yeah. Just fucking. I think that's completely out of line, and I don't think it's making anything better. I think it's making it worse.
Right.
I think
yeah,
and sit the fuck down.